Hello and welcome to APTU. Today we're going to be focusing on transaction notes and custom fields and their capabilities throughout AdvancePro. So AdvancePro has a number of fields and they're all used for helping with communication on all kinds of records and transactions throughout the software. Today we're going to be jumping back and forth a bit as we discuss each one. Now these fields are line item notes, which are notes on a transaction that note a specific line item or product that will appear there. We'll also talk about transaction notes, which are a general note for the entire transaction. Custom fields, now these are typically fixed, but they can also be fillable or editable custom fields. And there are cross-reference fields as well, which are another special label that can go onto the order. Now we also have reasons. So these are throughout certain transactions you actually do require a reason, and that gets recorded within your paper trail, and it gets reported for certain types of items on things like transfer orders and adjustments. And then finally, last but not least, we do have record notes. So these are customer notes, product notes, and vendor notes. And as you'll find out, some of those can actually turn into transactions notes. Okay? So the first area we are going to be touching on is the line item notes and the transaction notes. So let's just step up into AdvancePro. So here we are in AdvancePro itself, and let's jump into an order. So let's get into the transaction notes and the line item notes. So let's go to a customer order. I'm just going to make a new order, and we're going to put some items on there. So here we go. We've chosen a customer order, and we're going to go ahead and pick a couple of items and just get them on. So throughout the software, you'll see these notes buttons, or you may see on a vendor order a button that just says the word notes. And if we click into that field, we're going to see that we have the option to leave a note for the admin if we want to just keep something in AdvancePro, the option to have it print out on a customer order or a vendor order, and the invoice that goes with that order, or the vendor bill that goes with that order. And we also see that we'll have the warehouse notes. So these can actually go out on our pick, pack, or shipping slips, or our receiving tickets. So if we go ahead and put in a note, go ahead and save that. Now when we print this order off, we're going to be able to see these notes displayed at the bottom of the page. We'll go ahead and print that off. Now here's our note right there. There's our note that says note. So you'll see also we have some other custom fields, which we'll cover in just a moment. Now we also have these line item notes, and line item notes are pressed by going ahead to this note button on the line item that you'd like to make a note about. Go ahead and click that open, and here we can start to actually go in and make a note that's going to note this line item. So let's say we're dealing with almond syrup. Let's say pack in boxes of 12. And there's a special feature of this, the line item notes. They can actually be transferred to any vendor order that corresponds with this customer order. So that means in the next phase, as you process the order, if you're short on product, you can pass these items over to the vendor order, and the vendor order is going to maintain these line item notes. So if there's any kind of special handling at the line item level, this can be very, very useful. So we're going to go ahead and print that out, and you'll see these notes can actually be printed out at the bottom if we include them. And we'll see print item notes to enable that, and we'll go ahead and print that. And you'll see now that we have some item notes down at the bottom, and if we want, we can get down there and it'll show our note there. So here's our notes printing off down at the bottom there. Now that covers our line item notes, and you'll see if there is a line item note, you get a little red check mark over that line item notes button. Okay, so they appear at the bottom, and they do reference the note, the line item that they refer to. So it'll say item number 1, SKU, and then it'll say what the note is. So this way you can always reference that. So that's line item notes. So this covers sort of the main notes that you'll see on a lot of transactions. These apply to the customer order and to the vendor order. Okay, so we have all of these different ways of setting up these notes. One note I want to make about these main notes fields is you'll notice there's the ability to save as default, either for the admin, for the customer, or for the warehouse. So what that means is, first, there is a setting that's going to have to be enabled for these save as default fields to appear, and that is enabled from the admin panel. Under site settings, under, I believe, additional settings, you will see customer default note. It may actually be on printing settings. So here we actually will find that. Display default notes on CPO, admin, customer, and warehouse. There we go. So we can go ahead and enable those three settings, and then you'll be able to enter one note just one time, and it will appear on every customer order using those settings. So this way you can very easily have things like default terms or conditions that you need to apply to a customer, or shipping instructions. Now you can also, from the customer order, and we'll come into notes a little later, from the customer profile, you can actually go and enter a note in here, and it will automatically appear on any order corresponding to that customer in the customer notes fields. So that's using that same setting, those default notes. So that just covers a little bit more about those transaction level notes. Let's continue, and we've also talked a little bit about line item notes now. So the transaction notes, they can appear on the customer order, on the vendor order, or on the work order. And if we move ahead to line item notes, they appear at the bottom of the order. They pass a specific line item, and they appear only on customer orders and vendor orders. So now we're going to get into custom fields, and you can see we have a lot of what we call custom fields throughout AdvancePro. Some of them have different properties. So there's 3 on the product that are visible on the order that are fixed. There's also 3 on the product that are fillable on the order. So we'll talk a little bit about those, and then we have 3 on the product that are invisible as well. So we'll talk about where we can configure these, and we'll just talk about these product items first. So to configure these, you're going to go to Admin, Site Settings, and Custom Fields. And you'll see that we've got our custom fields for products. And these are the main custom fields that you can go ahead and put in. So these top 3 can be displayed on the order, and the remaining ones can be only for reference on the product profile. Now you'll also see there's these editable custom fields, and we'll talk about the differences there. So let's head over to a product. And one thing I do want to mention, we'll go to a regular product rather than an assembly product. We'll head over to custom fields. One thing I want to mention is that these custom fields, as I mentioned, some of them can be imported from spreadsheets. Those first 3 that you can have on an order can be imported from spreadsheets if you like. And the very first one you may have noticed was grayed out. That's because it may be taken up by your duties in your freight module. If you've enabled the AdvancePro freight module for tracking landed costs, duties will take up that first custom field. So for any given custom field, you can enter a value on the product profile for these fixed custom fields. So I'll enter a value for this particular item, and we'll go ahead and save that. And now, should that item appear on a customer order, that value is going to appear in the appropriate column. So we'll head over to our customer order, and I will go ahead and put on our product that we just grabbed. I believe it's this one. Go ahead and add that, and there's that value I put in this custom field, and this can also print out accordingly. So that's a fixed custom field. Now we also have some custom fields that are for reference only. So you can enter those. Those will not appear on any order. That's just if you need to check something about the product. Now we also have what I've put in here as field 3. And this is a fillable field. So there's nowhere to fill this out for the product. Just when it appears on an order, you can type in a special value. So I can put in description, for example. And that will print out accordingly, and it'll pass from the customer order to the picking, packing, and shipping tickets, and then on to the invoice as well. So we have a lot of capability to add these communication tools throughout AdvancePro accordingly. So that talks a little bit about the various product fields. Heading back, we also have reference-only fields available on the customer and on the vendor. And we have some for the customer order that can be filled on the order and on the batches. So again, everything except the batches is actually configured from admin, site settings, and custom fields if you want to enable some of those. And you'll see that we have the custom fields for a customer order listed down here. Now to fill those out on the customer order, we'll head back over to our Place Customer Order area, and we click that blue check mark button to go and enter in those order fields. Now for anything to do with the batches, you're going to find that under Utilities in our lot and serial module. You can go in and set up these custom fields for the batches. So this is if you're doing batch tracking, if you want to track things like a last service date for a given batch or unit. If you want to track things like a certificate number, if you've gone and made any adjustments, or if you have a product that needs to be lab certified or given a certificate of authenticity or inspection, you can certainly have those filled out at the batch level. Now, finally, I want to move ahead here to the next item, which is the cross-reference field. So now we have on a cross-reference field, you can have 2 on the customer order, 2 on the vendor order, 2 on the transfer order. These are also found under admin in site settings. These are all found on custom fields block 2. So you can go ahead and fill those out. And the way these appear on a customer order or vendor order, you're going to find them in the upper right. They're a label, and if we go ahead and fill those in, I'm going to put a value in there, and we'll just go ahead and save that. I'm going to go ahead and print this out, and you'll see that we get a label up at the top. You'll also see those custom order fields appearing on our printouts as we fill those out. So those are our various fields on the customer order. Next, we're going to talk about reasons. And AdvancePro will request a reason for you whenever you void or send back to picking or send back to open a customer order. So this is going to let us know, why are we sending this back? Is there a reason for it? Whenever you make a stock adjustment, it's going to ask for a reason. Whenever you create or change product settings, AdvancePro is going to start asking for reasons. And it will also appear on any transfer orders between picking locations or warehouses as well. So this is a field that's there by default, but it is a required field, and what you put in here is really your audit trail for that order. Why is this action happening? So if you're ever confused about why a transfer or a stock adjustment happened, you're always going to have those notes available to you so that you can audit and see what your own staff is doing. Next, we're going to talk about records notes. So we talked about the customer note, which is used to make a default transaction note if you like. You can also take notes on products and on vendors. So on vendors, those are also going to be available right up here on that first company info page. On a product, we're going to have some, we're going to have to actually go over to the additional info tab, and then we've got our note. So we can fill in notes, we can fill in descriptions for our products as well. And then throughout the software, whenever that product appears, if we click on that product name, we're going to be able to see that description or that note here on this page, as well as an image and some general information about that product as well. So that does conclude our brief tour of AdvancePro's transfer orders.